So Two Forks VR 1.0 is out. That means you can play Firewatch from start to finish in VR with minimal issues. And I thought I'd show some of the features that I implemented in this mod. Obviously, you got the motion controls, yeah, the laser interaction for interaction with objects, also for interaction with the UI. Uh, with the UI, it's basically just replacing a mouse, and for the world objects interactions, basically just replacing the camera array that usually would be shooting from the camera. So now it's shooting from the hand. You can actually interact with stuff like that. You can pick up objects. You can inspect them. In the base game, you actually had a button to inspect items. So you hold the button, then you use the analog stick to spin your hand around. In VR, you don't need to do any of that. You just look at it. Uh, you can see you have the button prompts that are reflecting the real VR prompts, the real VR inputs. So I'm using an Oculus controller. So it says right A, which means the A button on the right controller. To clean it up, I can hold it and do it. There's also the radio, which is used a lot in the game. You just hold the left trigger and then you can aim at whatever you want to report to the dial, and then use the analog stick to select the dialogue option.
A bunch of empty beer cans. They threw them all over
Uh,
hell.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah,
there's the
sure
tool
am.
picker. There's a bunch of tools in the game. Here, there not many of them are unlocked, so later in the game you unlock more of these tools. You can select the map. You can see I have the compass in my right hand. I had to fix the compass because it was initially using only the camera angle, so it wouldn't work when you just moved your hand. But now, yeah, it works like a real compass. And there's the map, which is comically huge because the original map was much smaller and it was very hard to see it in VR. In the original game, there was a button to zoom in on the map, but what that button did was change the field of view of the camera, which you can't really do in VR without causing a lot of discomfort. And so my solution here would be having a button that changes the size of the map, which I think looks weird, or just having the map be huge all the time so things can be readable. Of course, in VR you can just move the map closer to your eyes, right? But first of all, that the focus point makes it a little bit uncomfortable, and then if you have a headset with lower resolution, then doesn't matter how close you get it, it's gonna be really hard to read this tiny text. So yeah, this is I think the best solution. It gets a little bit cumbersome to use like such a huge map, but I think it works. And yeah, it's also cool that the map physics, the cloth physics work when you shake your hand around. And yeah, that's the two wheel. So there's also some tutorials, like when you pick up this object, you get this tutorial for look at hand to inspect objects. Usually you'd also get like in the beginning of the game is going to teach you all the VR inputs that you need to use. So I also fixed all those controllers and inputs and all those tutorials to make sense in VR. In this case, it used to say hold the button to inspect objects, but now it just says look at hand. It's kind of stupid, but yeah, I just kept the tutorial. Yeah, that's it about the motion controls and the tutorials. You get room scale tracking, so if you move the camera around, you the player body is gonna move around with you, which means you don't have to worry about recentering so much. You still have a recenter option in the pose menu, but it's mostly just to recenter the player height. So if you're changing from seated to standing, you use that recenter option so that your height isn't all weird. Uh, there are these player feet ghost feet always here. There's an option to disable them if you don't like them, but they're basically just to make you understand better what's going on in the game. Like there's a lot of animations that you kind of need to see the feet. In this particular one, you can see that hands are also showing up. There's like a my tracked hands, and then there's like an extra ghost hand showing up down there, and that's just because I'm showing the base game animations as much as possible, just so you can understand what's going on. I'm not always attaching the objects to your hands because that's gonna break a lot of animations. So I'm trying to show the animations as they were intended, so that you can like understand what Henry's trying to do. And let me show you a better example here. So here you got this press right A to hop over, and it, yeah, you can see he still does his usual animation. And I mean, in this case, he's just jumping over a log, which probably not the best example of an animation that would need you'd need some context to see what he's doing. But there are some animations that's like picking up objects, using items and stuff like that. That it just gets very confusing if you don't see those animations happening. So I would either have to manually fix every single animation, or yeah, just don't show the animations at all. And yeah, this is kind of a compromise that I found. Yeah, there's also a bunch of comfort options. So by default, it just controls exactly like the base game. It just smooth movement and smooth turning. But if you want, you can enable snap turning, which yeah, it's regular snap turning. And there's an option for fixed camera during animations. So that log jumping, log yeah, vaulting animation, it can be a bit disorienting because the camera moves around a lot, like against your wheel. So with that option enabled, it just this happens. So you just see the animation happening and then you teleport over there. I think just using these two options is might be already helpful for a lot of people who get motion sick with VR very easily. There are other like much more intense animations like climbing and falling and stuff like this. So I think that might be helpful. And if you still get motion sick, there's this fixed camera while moving, which doesn't look very good, but it's basically a teleport mode. Yeah, you just aim where you want to go, and the camera stays still while this ghost Henry moves around. And when he gets to the destination point, he teleports you there. It's similar to what VR chat does. I don't know any other game that does it. I didn't implement a proper teleport because it's really hard for me to tell what surfaces Henry should be able to stand on. For instance, this rock up here, like, I mean, it's just a solid rock. If I cheat and make Henry teleport up there, I mean, it works. I can just walk up there, but eventually I'm gonna reach somewhere that the game doesn't really want me to reach, like an unfinished map area or something like this, or I'm gonna clip to the ground and fall to the void. So there's no way for me to tell the difference between that surface and this surface over here. So yeah, my solution is to just not really teleport the player, but just make him walk towards a point and only teleport the camera. This should help a little bit with motion sickness, since you don't get this climbing up and down the hills that you usually get. Yeah, and there's also some controller options. The controller based movement directions, yeah, you just can pick between head based or controller based. And there's left-handed mode, which was a bit tricky in this game. So for left-handed mode, I wanted the player to be able to use the left hand for doing all of the important interactions, and this kind of devolved into this over-engineered solution, which is to completely swap around the hands, the player hands. So now you can see the ring used to be on the left hand, and now it's on the right hand, and the hand laser is on the left hand, and you can now pick up objects with your left hand. There's no object here to pick up, but whatever. Just trust me. Yeah, yeah. I just had to basically mirror the whole body, and then make sure that the objects that you're holding aren't mirrored as well. There's probably a lot of stuff that breaks with that. If like during animations, I still revert to the normal Henry because that would be a nightmare to try and mirror those as well. So this, when you're jumping around, the right and left hand are still correct, like in the Ghost Henry. It just in your tracked hands they get mirrored around, so that all the stuff you can do still works with your left hand. So if I equip now the map, you can see that now I have the map on my right hand and the compass on the left hand. That also swaps around, and the radio is now the button for the radio also swapped. So now I use the radio on the right hand instead of the left hand. Yeah, basically everything swaps except the movement and rotation sticks, which is a separate option because some of the left-handed players they like this swapped, some don't. So yeah, it's just a separate option for them. And yeah, I think that's like the main stuff that I wanted to show. There's definitely a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't do, but I'm already very happy with the current state of the mod, and you can play it all the way through with this whatever options you pick. And yeah, let me know what you think. Just check my Patreon for access to the mod. But in about a month after publishing this video, I will make it open source and free for everyone. So yeah, if you don't want to contribute to the Patreon, that's fine. Just wait a little bit and you'll get it anyway. Thanks. Bye.